Uh, hey YouTube, it's me, and today I want to talk about Cucumber. Cucumber is a British show that was created by the same guy who created the groundbreaking show Queer as Folk of yesteryear. This new show is kind of my new obsession. It's kind of great, and it's airing on LOGOTV this year after RuPaul's Drag Race. Great lead-in. But I just don't know, how America is sort of taking the show. So I just want to tell you how this American is taking the show. I really like it. I really do. I actually was really excited to watch it when I saw the first preview, because I feel like a lot of gay media likes to focus on sort of the young and sort of the fit and sort of the white, percentile of the gay community. And, looking at the preview, you could see that it had a more well-rounded, more diverse crop of gays, starting with the main character who was 46 and he's out of shape, he's balding. There's there's two black characters on there. And, as you watch the show, the show really does represent what the world looks like, because there's Asians, there's Indians, there's all different types of people represented in the show. And I was really excited to see that. Unfortunately, this semester I have a Monday night class, so I've been missing a lot of it. I've been missing a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race, and I end up, a lot of the times I would see Cucumber on the scroll, but I would miss like the first half hour, and I was like, ugh, I keep missing it. So what I did was I looked at it online. I actually got the uncensored, I guess the ones that were originally aired in the UK. And yeah, it's a really, really engaging show. It's fun, it's funny, and it's really super sexy. Lot of hot sex in this show, and just a lot of what do they call it, insinuations about sex. Anyway, I want to talk about the show. I want to give you guys a recap. I want to give you guys my feelings about it, and then I want to compare it to another recent gay show. So basically, the show starts out with Henry and Lance. Henry and Lance are a couple. They've been together for 9 years. They're both in their 40s. They are both sort of, comfortable with each other. They, get on well. They laugh and everything, but they don't really have sex. They toss each other off. But they don't do any penetration, and they haven't for 9 years. So, apparently they've come to a place in their relationship where they're fine with it. They're fine with, each going to their separate rooms and jacking off and everything. But what happens is Lance asks Henry to marry him, and Henry is totally not into it. He gives him a harsh no. And, it's fine. It's fine, sort of. They go to dinner and they talk about that, and he's like, okay, it's fine. They go out to the clubs and everything, and Lance, keeps talking about all these different guys at the club that he would, let fuck him, and
he could fuck me all night. I'd have all of them. Five boys fucking me. We could have a threesome. Would you do it?
And they end up bringing this tweaked out white boy to their house for a threesome, and Lance is all for it. Lance wants to get fucked, okay? And there's something about, I guess, Henry felt like maybe Lance was joking and didn't really want to take it all the way, but he gets really, really upset when he sees that Lance really is about to, have sex with this guy. So he gets really weird, and this is when I started to hate Henry. He, goes outside, and I guess Lance and the other guy are having sex, and he goes to this cop car that just happens to be out there, and he says, oh, this guy won't leave, and it becomes a whole big deal because the third guy that they brought home is totally tweaked out, and he's just, doesn't have his senses about him. So Lance and the guy, they get arrested. And Henry doesn't seem to feel any remorse for it. Anyway, Henry works at an insurance agency, right? And, he is working with this, there's this male boy there, Dean, and he asked him to come to his new flat or whatever I don't know what he wants him to do, just check in on everything, because it seems like a shady deal. And so Henry goes to their flat. It's huge. And apparently they are paying like super cheap rent because, they give their money to this guy who they think gives the money to a landlord. And pretty much they think it's all illegal. But it's a super big place. And Dean actually lives there with this boy named Freddie, who also works in the building. He works at the cafeteria. And Henry got a thing for little Freddie because Freddie is, this little blonde twink boy, the ideal of the gay community. And so what ends up happening is Henry decides that he's going to help them figure out, about their rental situation and investigate things. And he's like, in order for me to do that, I'm going to live here. And so they say, fine. He has a room sort of in the back, which has an amazing view, but it's like super cold. And, the place that they're living in is really not fit for living. I don't think they're really supposed to be living there. But, they're doing it because it's cheap and it's in the city and all that stuff. So that's that. He moves in with the young boys. And Freddie already knows that Henry wants his little booty hole. Even though he doesn't know that Henry is basically like a penetration virgin, right? So Freddie is like, you could stay here, but this is never going to happen. And he goes into this big monologue about, you think that maybe if you, get me drunk and I'm feeling vulnerable that it might happen, but I'll tell you what, it never will. Which was a pretty good monologue or whatever. After that, what happens? So if we just talk about Henry and Freddie and Dean, they're living there, and they're living there. If we go on to Lance's side, Lance works at an aquarium or something like that. He does marketing for the place, and he kind of has a hots for this new diver that works there. And the diver is, hot. He has a really great body. He's really cute. And Lance is digging on this guy, and he's really digging on the fact that the guy seems to be sort of interested in hanging out with him. And, so they go have beers, they, do random stuff together. And the diver, I think his name is Daniel. Anyway, the diver, he keeps on sort of throwing out these mixed signals. And he's kind of crazy because, his reactions are really sort of unpredictable. Like, he'll tell Lance something about how he has a big, huge cock and he found out in grade school and everybody saw his dick, and he made some sort of joke about, if anybody wants to touch it, or I forget what the joke was, but Lance was like, oh, well, did you let them? And then he gets all like, of course not. Those are my mates. So, yeah, he has this kind of weird back and forth, kind of like he wants to go to the gay side, but he's scared too. And, yeah, so that's that. I don't know what else to say, really, as far as a recap. It's just a whole bunch of funniness and things. I should also say that Henry has a sister. And, she comes by to, Henry, Dean, and Freddie's place. And she doesn't like the situation. She wants him to go back home. And meanwhile, her son, who's like 15, has this YouTube channel.
My vlog. I'm a vlogger.
Where, him and his friends, I guess, sing songs shirtless. And, they get all these hits and they get all this promotion and stuff just because they're young and fit and, whatever, and straight. Henry loses his job. In a really fucked up way. I won't go into too much of the details of what happened because it was kind of foggy. He basically gave this guy a speech he wrote, and then after he gave the guy the speech, he's like, oh, well, that guy just stole from me. And then it becomes this real big thing about how, you know, they searched the speech. They put it into turnitin.com. That's something we use at my school to sort of see if anything has been plagiarized. I think it's a site like that. And they said that, you know, it's definitely been plagiarized. And I guess the guy who Henry gave the speech to is in trouble or whatever. Anyway, the guy ends up killing himself. The guy's wife she comes to have a meeting with, you know, the business. And she says that, you know, Henry and the guy had this big fight, and that Henry called him all kind of racial names and called her all kind of racial names and everything. So they fire him based on her story, which, really, can people do that? Whatever. So he's fired. He's strapped for cash. Lance has, you know, they had a joint account, and Lance has put it all in his name. So Henry is really strapped for cash. So he hooks up with his nephew and is like, can I get in on this YouTube thing that you're doing? And it ends up being something totally different. And yeah, I won't get into that episode because that was kind of harsh. I mean, his sister finds out about it, and his sister, you know, makes him feel really, really bad because Henry's nervous idea, you guys gotta watch the episode, ends up, how can I say this? The nervous idea ends up becoming popular, so popular that, you know, some kid has violated his niece. And so that's that. That's a wash. God, I don't think this recap is as good as I thought it was going to be because, yeah, I should have wrote notes. You guys, I want to stop this. I have watched up to episode 6. And I just want to talk about episode 1 through 5 for now because episode 6 was something else. Okay, let me just tell you, it was a really, really great episode, but the ending was something else. You know, at this point, Henry, you know, confronts the fact that he's a virgin or whatever. And one of Freddie's old teachers comes around. They meet, you know, haphazardly on the street by random. The teacher is with his wife, and they sit down for tea, and the wife goes, and the teacher's all telling him that he wants to be inside him. And
I have got such a massive hard on right now, and I just want to split you in half. I just want to fuck you one last time. Can I do that? So I just want to come inside you.
You know, Freddie is obviously turned on, but they don't meet at that instant for whatever reason. I guess Freddie just is having some kind of remorse about it. But then he hits him up later. He's like, I really want to see you. Come to my flat. And so the teacher comes. Freddie had, you know, did this sort of graphic novel or graphic little comic strip about them fucking when he was in school, when he was like 15. And, you know, the guy is obviously paranoid. He's obviously DL. And he's like, oh, well, you got to take these down. Don't show anybody these, blah, 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 blah. So they start to fuck. They don't really fuck, though. I think that maybe they do start to fuck. But then Freddie stops it. And he's like, well, I want to fuck you. And the guy's like, no. He's going to leave. Freddie takes a picture of him. And then there's this big struggle. The teacher's trying to get the cell phone from Freddie. Freddie won't let him. And then, then Henry comes in. He's like, help me, kick him off me or whatever. And he goes to like do something. And then the teacher grabs Henry's neck. And they're all like sort of in this huddle, like all hurting. That was a funny scene. That was actually the first episode that I saw on Logo. I was like, yeah, I like this show. Lance ends up coming to the flat and, you know, helping. Henry tells Freddie that he should send the picture. And then after that, Freddie takes a picture of Henry, and I guess he goes on Grindr with the picture or whatever and hooks him up with a date. Now, I just have to say that the date was so cute. He was so adorable. I would have let him hit it, I think. But, yeah, he was so adorable. But Henry is scared to have sex. I guess what Freddie told the guy online is that, you know, Henry was this big power bottom.
I have to say, Henry, I love a man who knows exactly what he is. What is that again? Power bottom. Cheers.
And so the guy's all worked up and he really wants to fuck. And instead, Henry gets scared and, you know, he gets the guy drunk and they start talking about his life and everything. And then they end up going to a restaurant and, you know, he likes this guy. Henry likes this guy, but he's just so scared that he's kind of pushing him away. A bunch of the guy's friends come into the restaurant that they're at, the diner that they're at. And obviously this one particular guy really takes a shine to Henry. They sit and talk. They talk about sex and things. And there was an interesting part where they were talking about how porn these days and the accessibility of porn is kind of ruining sex for everybody. And Henry's like, yeah, it makes me feel like we're not even worthy to have sex because, you know, I'm not jacked. They like each other though. Well, the other guy, I'm just saying the guys. The other guy likes Henry a lot more than I think Henry likes him, but the guy's cute. The guy had like the cutest little nose. You know, I don't know. Anyway, so they're kind of dating, you know. Henry's sister doesn't like him for political reasons, but they're kind of dating. And then they, you know, schedule this time where he's like, oh, you know, we should totally fuck.
Friday, come round mine. I tell you what, let's not drink, let's have sober sex. I love that.
Yeah.
And you can fuck me, you can go the full Bravo Delta, is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
The night that they're supposed to go out, though, Freddie, well, okay, let me say this. Freddie's parents come one day, and Freddie actually is like, okay, everybody be gone on Thursday from this time to this time. He doesn't tell them why. Henry forgets, and he refuses to leave. And Freddie's parents are there. And there's this whole thing about Henry not willing to lie for Freddie. And he tells him that, yeah, I'm living here and, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's sort of an altercation or whatever. Not a physical one, but they have words.
So, Mr. Baxter, Mrs. Baxter, fuck off.
So Henry's about to go on this date with his new boo. And before he leaves, he goes and knocks on Freddie's door. And I guess he's, you know, knocking to apologize or whatever. But Freddie is like, oh, what you did was brilliant. That was great. You pissed him off so much. And he's fucking drunk. And he's like inviting him. Here, I got some drink. Come drink with me. So Henry ends up blowing off the date just to hang out with Freddie. And Freddie is just going down this long list of all these guys that he fucked from, you know, the time he was 14 till now. And he takes him I think it's an ecstasy pill because he's like all feeling himself and stuff. And I don't know what happened there. Like Freddie was like, oh, I'm so hard. And he's like, you know, showing his dick. And I mean, you know, he doesn't pull it out or anything, but then his foot goes over to Henry's leg. And, you know, for some reason, Henry doesn't jump for it. And then all of a sudden, Freddie's like, okay, you can go now. So yeah, that happened. And so yeah, he blows off the date with the guy, and then he ends up deleting the guy's number out of his phone, which sucks, but you know, that's Henry for you. Going over to Lance though, Lance is sort of making headway with this diver guy. And you know, the diver guy says that, you know, he's going to teach Lance how to swim, so they, you know, they relate there. Yeah. the guy, Daniel, I think his name is Daniel the diver, he, one day, Lance texts him, and they like text all day, and then Lance is like, oh, well, you should come over to my house for dinner tomorrow. And he's like, okay, fine. And he's like, oh, I'll cook something, whatever. So anyway, the guy comes over, Daniel comes over the house. And, you know, Lance has this whole, like, he's making steaks, and, you know, he's trying to make this fancy meal with wine and everything. And Daniel's like, well, no, let's just order some takeout and watch some movies or something. Let's just keep it, you know, casual or whatever. So they do that. And, I think I had already been talk about how Lance thinks that Daniel is hot. He asks him, you know, what type of guy he goes for, and he's like, oh, well, somebody like you. He talks about how he gives expert head, and the guy gets hard. This is before the dinner. So they have dinner, and Lance makes this comment like, you talk about gay stuff more than I do. And Daniel keeps asking him, like, you know, when you wank, do you think about me? Have you ever thought about me? And, you know, Lance is like, yes. He's like, kind of like, fuck off at first, but then he's like, yes, I have. And he's like, well, what do you think about? And he's like, oh.
When you fuck my ass, Daniel, you fuck me all over the house all night long.
Never gonna happen.
The guy's like, oh, I'm hard or whatever. Do you want to see it or whatever? He pulls his dick out. He tells Lance just to sit there. Keep your hands there. Don't pull your dick out. Just keep your hands there. And he's, you know, putting on a little show for him. That was hot. That scene was it's just a very sexy, sensual show. So that scene was hot. But I kind of forget how it ends. The guy, you know, switches up his mood again. And he's just like, are you happy now? Or, you know, he gets really sort of volatile. And then he leaves. But when he leaves, he's like, you know,
We could do that again if you wanted. I'd like it. Like it a lot.
again. He gives him the smile at the end of the episode. I mean, at the end. And then Lance really thinks that, you know, that smile means that he has a chance with him or whatever. We haven't established if he's straight or gay or what. We know that he used to be married. We know that he cheated on his wife and they're divorced now. And we know that well, we don't know for sure, but we know that he hasn't ever admitted to fooling around with any guys. So, yeah, Lance thinks that he has a chance. And then at the end of the episode 5, everything just kind of all falls down for Henry. I told you about what happened with his niece. I didn't really tell you about what happened, but we know that his sister is not too happy with him about the whole nervous thing. So he ends up having to quit that. And, you know, he let this boy go. So he wants to go meet with Lance, and he wants to, I guess, get back together with Lance and tell him that he is still in love with him and everything. And it's a really good conversation at the coffee house. It has its highs and lows. It's like a roller coaster of a conversation. But I felt like it was really sort of realistic. And Lance tells Henry that, you know, he really thinks that he has a chance with this guy, and he's beautiful, and he's, you know, he's crazy, but he's beautiful, and, you know, I think I might have a chance with him. And Henry's like, oh, I'm happy for you. The episode ends in such a realistic way because Lance, you know, leaves, and just Henry breaks down. It was really kind of sad, but Henry makes terrible decisions. So I talked about this shit for hella long, so let me get to how I feel about the show. I really love it. I do think that a lot of things are sort of, like, yeah, right. But it's written in such a way that you believe it. I mean, I really believe these characters. I mean, it's sort of hard to believe that there's a gay 46-year-old virgin out there. But, you know, it's understandable. he does seem like, you know, just scary, sort of lost type person. I'm talking about Henry. And yeah, Henry is so not likable. He's such a character that you know, he makes bad decisions. He makes decisions that really hurt people. But there's something very relatable about him. You know, I feel a certain way because, you know, as you get older, you sort of regret the things that you didn't do, or you regret the things that you were too scared to do when you're in your teens and your 20s and things like that. And that's where we meet Henry at. He's really lost. He's really sort of regretful. He's just really unhappy. And it causes him to make these horrible decisions because he feels like, you know, I've been safe. I've been on the grid this whole time, walking within the lines. And so I want to, you know, I want to rebel and that kind of thing. And so he makes these decisions to rebel, and then he later regrets them, and he doesn't, you know, stick through with anything. And so he's just a lost case. But yeah, I mean, there's something really relatable about him, and I have to say that the person who plays him, all the acting in the show is really good, but the person that plays him really helps him become a real person. You know what I mean? Lance is also really a good actor, but and you know, we like Lance because you know, Lance is sort of, he's weird. I mean, sometimes I feel like he gets too, no, really? What, did you let them? Ooh. That's a horrible way to describe it, but overall we like Lance. Lance seems responsible and cool and funny, and, you know, just a cool person to hang out with. When we get to Freddie and Dean, Freddie is interesting, but at this point, I've seen 6 episodes, and I feel like we haven't really delved into him as much as maybe we should. The show's the star character, the leading character, is obviously Henry, and so it's not really about Freddie. It's about Henry. So I understand why we haven't really super delved into his life, but I just know that one episode where the teacher came and he sent the video, and then the teacher left, sent the picture, and then the teacher left, there was a little tear that came out. So there's some deep-rooted stuff with Freddie, and I think that the person who plays Freddie is probably the best actor on the show, because he's just so, it seems like such a complicated character to play, and, you know, he has this wall up. He is, you know, really sort of secretive in other ways. He's like an open book sexually, but about his personal life and his feelings and everything, he's really secretive. And emotionless, it seems. So when he does show a little bit of emotion, it just packs so much power. I think he's a really good actor. I have to say that. Dean is funny, but Dean is so annoying to me. He talks so fast, and he does this. I swear I hate this phone. It always